It is better to offer no excuse than a bad one. "99% of failures come from people who make excuses." Happiness depends more upon the internal frame of a person's own mind, than on the externals in the world. Knowledge is in every country the surest basis of public happiness. A sensible woman can never be happy with a fool. The harder the conflict, the greater the triumph. Worry is the interest paid by those who borrow trouble. Perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages. If we desire to avoid insult, we must be able to repel it. If we desire to secure peace, one of the most powerful instruments of our rising prosperity, it must be known that we are at all times ready for war. The turning points of life are not great moments. The real crises are often concealed in occurrences so trivial in appearance that they pass unobserved. Encouraging literature and the arts is a duty that every good citizen owes to their country. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those be well tried before you give them your confidence. There is nothing so likely to produce peace as to be well prepared to meet the enemy. Be not glad at the misfortune of another, though he may be your enemy. Let your heart feel for the afflictions and distress of everyone. If to please the people, we offer what we ourselves disapprove, how can we afterwards defend our work? Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair. The rest is in the hands of God. Anything will give up its secrets if you love it enough. Not only have I found that when I talk to the little flower or to the little peanut they will give up their secrets, but I have found that when I silently commune with people they give up their secrets also, if you love them enough. Strive not with your superiors in argument, but always submit your judgment to others with modesty. It is absolutely necessary for me to have persons that can think for me, as well as execute orders. A bad war is fought with a good mind. Wherein you reprove another, be unblameable yourself, for example is more prevalent than precepts. No pecuniary consideration is more urgent than the regular redemption and discharge of the public debt. On none can delay be more injurious, or an economy of time more valuable. How far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and the strong. Because someday in life you will have been all of these. Experience teaches us that it is much easier to prevent an enemy from posting themselves than it is to dislodge them after they have got possession. Never attach where it is obvious. Freedom and property rights are inseparable. You can't have one without the other. It is best to be silent, for there is nothing more certain than that it is at all times easier to make enemies than friends. It is a much easier and less distressing thing to draw remonstrances in a comfortable room by a good fireside than to occupy a cold bleak hill and sleep under frost and snow without clothes or blankets. Do not spare any reasonable expense to come at early and true information, always recollecting, and bearing in mind, that vague and uncertain accounts of things are more disturbing and dangerous than receiving none at all. I rejoice in a belief that intellectual light will spring up in the dark corners of the earth, that freedom of inquiry will produce liberality of conduct, that mankind will reverse the absurd position that the many were made for the few. Do not suffer your good nature to say yes when you ought to say no. Remember that it is a public not a private cause that is to be injured or benefited by your choice. Much was to be done by prudence, much by conciliation, much by firmness. System to all things is the soul of business. To execute properly and act maturely is the way to conduct it to your advantage. May the children of the stock of Abraham, who dwell in this land, continue to merit and enjoy the goodwill of the other inhabitants, while everyone shall sit under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid. Truth will ultimately prevail where there are pains to bring it to light. Guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism. Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plan of rapid growth. It is impossible to reason without arriving at a supreme being. My first wish is to see this plague of mankind, war, banished from the earth. Observe good faith and justice towards all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all. We should not look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors, and for the purpose of profiting by dearly bought experience. I hold the maxim no less applicable to public than to private affairs, that honesty is always the best policy. Friendship is a plant of slow growth and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity before it is entitled to the appellation. Speak not injurious words, neither in jest nor earnest. Scoff at none although they give occasion. A man ought not to value himself of his achievements or rare qualities of wit, much less of his riches, virtue or kindred. It will be found an unjust and unwise jealousy to deprive a man of his natural liberty upon the supposition he may abuse it. Your love of liberty, your respect for the laws, your habits of industry, and your practice of the moral and religious obligations, are the strongest claims to national and individual happiness. Laws made by common consent must not be trampled on by individuals. To form a new government, requires infinite care, and unbounded attention, for if the foundation is badly laid the superstructure must be bad.